You're insecure. Obsessed. I can't live like this. That's what she said before she walked out the door. And just like that, after 3 years together, vacations, house hunting, talk of a future, she ended it in 12 words and a slammed door. Her name was Rachel. At least, that's what I thought. The night she left, I didn't sleep. Not from heartbreak. Not yet. It was confusion. Suspicion. That twitch in your gut that says something doesn't add up, but you don't know what yet. We'd argued over a guy who texted her at 2 a.m. A guy she claimed was just someone from the gym. The name didn't match anyone I'd met. And when I asked to see the messages, she said, "I don't owe you proof. Trust is trust." The next morning, I sat alone in the apartment surrounded by all the things she didn't bother to take. Her favorite sweater, her backup phone charger, a shoebox of old receipts and paper junk we kept meaning to shred. I opened it. Not because I thought I'd find anything. Just habit. Just curiosity. That's when I saw it. A business card wedged between 2 old concert stubs, not mine. Kristen Hale, direct response copy, Las Vegas. Rachel had never lived in Vegas. At least, Rachel hadn't. I pulled out my phone and searched the name. Found a LinkedIn profile. Same face. Different name. Same eyes. Same dimple in the left cheek. But her page said she was based in Arizona. Recently relocated. Divorced. 1 child. No mention of me. No mention of Rachel. The deeper I scrolled, the worse it got. Photos. Tags. A wedding in 2017. A baby in 2019. None of it matched the timeline she'd given me when we met in 2020, when she claimed she'd just moved back to town to start over. I sat back in my chair. She hadn't just left me. She left behind a version of herself she couldn't keep propped up anymore. I thought I'd lost the woman I loved. But I was about to learn that woman never existed in the first place. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. When you find out your reality might be built on a lie, you don't go shouting it from the rooftop. You watch. You wait. You test the floorboards beneath your feet. And I had a whole damn house of them to check. The business card kept pulling at me. Kristen Hale. Same face. Same dimples. Different name. I needed confirmation. So I went back to the old iPad she used sometimes to read recipes or browse Pinterest. It hadn't been touched in weeks. Still logged into her email, her cloud storage. I tapped the screen, praying the battery still had life. It blinked. Loaded. Opened her inbox. Nothing scandalous on the surface. Newsletters. Coupons. Work stuff. But then I tapped the archived folder. The one most people don't remember is still connected to the main account. Buried 6 pages in, I found a forwarded message from 2 months ago. No subject line. Just a blank preview and an attachment. I opened it. A PDF. Medical documents. Hospital billing. Arizona General. Billing name, Kristen Hale. Emergency contact, Daniel Hale. Dependent listed, Mia Hale, F. Age 8. My heart started racing. Rachel, or Kristen, or whatever her name was, had told me she'd never been married. That she couldn't have kids. That she'd had health issues when she was younger that made it impossible. I'd believed her. I'd listened when she cried about it over wine. Held her hand. Kissed her forehead. All lies. And this wasn't just a kid. This was her daughter. I sat there in silence, the room feeling colder with every breath. My chest tight, not with grief, with rage I couldn't name yet. I wasn't just cheated on. I was manipulated on a level I didn't even know how to process. And something told me this wasn't the end of it. I checked the folder's metadata. The email wasn't sent to her. It was forwarded from another account. A burner Gmail. Name on the sender? Klein1979@gmail.com. My stomach dropped. R. Klein. Not Rachel. Not Kristen. Rebecca Klein. A third name. I whispered it aloud like a question. How many names do you have? No one answered. Just that iPad screen, glowing like the last little piece of the illusion burning out. Rebecca Klein. Kristen Hale. Rachel whatever. 3 names. 1 face. All belonging to the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat the next day. I just sat with it. Sat with the slow dawning realization that nothing, not one damn thing, had been real. When you love someone, you build your memory around them. Their laugh becomes music. Their scent becomes home. You forget to question what they tell you, because trust becomes your default setting. But now, Now, every moment we ever shared was under a microscope, and I was starting to see just how much I'd missed. The lies weren't even complicated. That's what burned the most. They were just casual, sloppy, practiced. The first time we met, she said she'd just moved from Santa Rosa, had no family in town, was starting fresh after a long breakup. But when I searched her old Facebook account, the one she had briefly mentioned deleting, I found it cached, partially active. It had tagged photos from a wedding in Mesa, Arizona. For years ago, a little girl in a white dress holding a woman's hand, Rachel's hand. Only she wasn't Rachel then. The caption said, Annie, Kristen, and Mia, flower girls forever. Except the kid wasn't her niece. And Kristen wasn't her sister's name. It was hers. I ran her photo through a public image search engine. Took about 15 minutes to get hits. 2 separate job profiles. Kristen Hale, copy strategist for an agency in Phoenix. Rebecca Klein, legal assistant for a firm in Tucson. Both with headshots. Both updated in the last 3 years. Same cheekbones. Same eyes. Same damn fake smile I used to fall asleep next to. I kept digging. Found a court records database from Maricopa County. Typed in both names. Klein, Rebecca, case ID #18CR65432. Fraud. Falsified identification. Charges dismissed under sealed plea. Sealed, but not sealed enough. Cross-referenced the docket date with her supposed year in Bali to find herself. She wasn't doing yoga on a beach. She was in a diversion program. I pushed my chair back, stood up, walked to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, looked in the mirror and said it out loud, just to hear it in the air. You almost married a goddamn con artist. I wasn't angry. I was disgusted. Not just with her, with myself. Because the signs were there. Little things I waved off. Gaps in her stories. Jobs that never had websites. Family that never called. One friend, always conveniently traveling. She hadn't built a life with me. She built a cover. I sat back down, pulled up my browser, and started a new search. Private investigator near me. The private investigator's name was Carl Jennings. Mid-60s. Semi-retired. Ex-FBI background. Ran a small solo practice out of a converted dentist's office south of town. I picked him because he didn't ask dumb questions like, Are you sure she was lying? No. Carl listened. Then he said, Most people who change names don't want a fresh start. They want a clean escape. Let's see who she used to be. I gave him everything I had, every alias, every location, every screenshot. Within 3 days, he sent me a zip file. No fanfare. No warning. Inside? A 23-page PDF labeled. Subject, Klein/Hale/. Compiled profile. The very first line in the report hit harder than anything I'd seen so far. Multiple state records indicate at least 5 known aliases. At least 2 additional identities suspected. Carl had found 3 old addresses she never mentioned. One in Flagstaff shared with a man named Thomas Denning. One in Sacramento listed under Kristen M. Hale, with a child care license issued in her name. And this one made me stop breathing, in Dallas, under Rebecca M. Lyons. A lease signed 3 years ago. That's while we were dating. So I asked him, Who's Thomas Denning? Carl replied with a new file. Inside. Marriage license. Divorce decree. Court order for temporary custody of a minor child. Mia. Her daughter. Carl highlighted the discrepancy. Here's where it gets messy. The father, Denning, claimed she disappeared in 2021 after failing to show up for a custody hearing. They never re-established contact. She's been listed as location unknown in that court system ever since. That's right. She didn't just lie to me. She didn't just fake names. She abandoned a custody order. She ran, changed states, changed names, changed everything, and started playing house with me like none of it ever existed. I sat in my living room staring at the photos Carl had pulled from court records. There she was. Hair longer, maybe 10 pounds lighter, but smiling with a little girl in her lap, one arm around her, one hand holding a cup of juice. That wasn't a stranger's kid. That was her child. The one she swore she couldn't have. I thought back to all those nights she curled into me on the couch and whispered things like, I want something real this time. I've never felt safe before you. It wasn't romance. It was script. Lines she delivered in other zip codes. to other men, with the same face, same smile, same plan. And I was just the next scene in her rerun. I called Carl the next morning. Keep digging, I said. She's lied so much I don't think she knows who she is anymore. The message came through my inbox at 2:17 a.m. Subject line: You don't know me, but I think we've both been lied to. No greeting. No emojis. Just a screenshot. Her. In a cafe. Sitting across from him. Laughing. Same necklace I bought her 6 months into our relationship. Same leather journal in front of her she told me was just for poetry. And this guy? He signed his name Mark Denning. Yeah, Thomas Denning's brother. The uncle of the girl she left behind. Mark had been trying to track her down ever since she left his brother high and dry in the middle of a custody case. Said she reappeared a year later in his town. Different name, new job, same tactics. She told him her name was Rachel Morris. Told him she had no close family. Said she'd lost a child during a breakup. That she was trying to rebuild. Sound familiar? We met up. Neutral spot. A quiet coffee shop 2 towns over. He brought a folder. I brought Carl's report. We didn't have to compare much. The timelines lined up like bones in a buried body. She told me her ex was abusive, Mark said. Said he threatened her life. She made it sound like she had to disappear for her own safety. I nodded. She said the same thing about a guy in Arizona. You think that was your brother? Absolutely. My brother's the softest man I know. He practically begged her not to leave the kid. What happened to Mia? Mark's face fell. He's still raising her. Alone. She doesn't ask about her mom anymore. Then Mark dropped something even colder. She told me she had to disappear because she was in the witness protection program. Said her real name couldn't be used or it would put people in danger. I froze. She said that to you too? Yeah. Right after I asked her why there were gaps in her credit history and no social media from before 2018. We both sat in silence. I wanted to laugh. She wasn't just a liar. She was a storyteller with a god complex. The kind of woman who didn't just cheat. She burned her history, built a new mask, and had the gall to blame you when the eye holes didn't line up. Mark said she left him 6 months ago after he started pressing about the inconsistencies. He never got closure. Until he saw her in a photo I posted years ago, one she forgot to scrub from an old tagged album. Same woman, different lie, same ending. Before we parted ways, he said, you know, if she spent half as much energy being a decent human as she did building all this bullshit, she'd be president. I finished. We didn't even laugh. We just shook hands like 2 men who'd both dated a ghost and lived to tell the story. But I wasn't done. Because if she could lie about a child, a marriage, her own name, and witness protection, what else was buried that I hadn't even thought to question? There's a drawer in my nightstand I didn't open for months. Second one down. Old receipts. Passport. A pack of earbuds I haven't seen since 2019. And the ring box. It had been sitting there since February. 3 months before she left. I remember the night I bought it. She was curled up on the couch, barefoot in one of my hoodies, watching reruns of some baking show. She laughed at something dumb, flower explosion, I think, and turned to look at me. What? She said, smiling. Nothing. You just look happy. I am. That was the moment. I ordered the ring 2 days later. Nothing flashy, a classic solitaire, modest band. The kind you buy when you're not trying to impress someone, just trying to promise them you're all in. I had a whole plan. Dinner where we first met. Walk by the old bookstore she loved. Then the question, under the same street lamp where she once kissed me in the rain and said she could finally see herself growing roots. Yeah, roots. Goddamn poetry. The ring never left the drawer. Not because I got cold feet. Because one night, around mid-March, I found her crying in the bathroom. Door half open, lights off. You okay? I asked. She nodded, wiped her face. Just hormones, she said. I get like this sometimes. That was the first time she ever hinted at pregnancy. I asked her once if she was late. No, she said quickly. Just stress. Later, after she left, I realized what those tears might have actually been. Guilt. Or worse, a goodbye she was already planning but couldn't execute yet. I opened that drawer again last week. Held the box in my hand for a long time. Then I walked into the garage and threw it into the fire pit. Watched it blacken and crack under the flame. The diamond didn't melt. It just turned dark, smoky, ugly. like it had never been anything special in the first place. You don't recover from almost marrying a fraud. Not quickly, because the damage isn't just heartbreak. It's doubt. You question yourself, your judgment, your worth. You don't ask, why did she lie? You ask, why didn't I see it? And maybe that's the part that hurts the most. It wasn't just that she fooled me. It's that I loved her while she did it. I found her in a bookstore. Not a metaphor, a literal bookstore. One town over. Thursday afternoon. I wasn't following her. I was meeting a client at a cafe nearby when I saw her through the window, standing in the aisle, flipping through a hardcover like she didn't have a dozen lives smoldering in her wake. She looked normal. That's what stunned me the most. After everything, the aliases, the child, the trail of men she'd conned, she was out in public like nothing had ever happened. Wearing a scarf I bought her, reading a book she once said was her favorite, and drinking coffee like guilt had never existed in her bloodstream. I didn't walk in right away. I stood across the street, heart pounding, jaw tight. Then I thought about Mia, about that man she abandoned, about the brother she lied to, about the months I wasted planning a life with someone who didn't even legally exist. And I crossed the street. She saw me before I spoke. Eyes widened. She froze, book still half open in her hands. Hey, I said, calm, cold. Wow, I didn't expect. No, you didn't. I nodded to the book. You still pretend to read that one? She put it down, carefully, like she was defusing a bomb. Listen, I know you're angry, Al. Not anymore. That threw her. She blinked, swallowed, bit her lip. You've probably heard things. I've confirmed things. I stepped closer, lowered my voice. Kristen, Rebecca, Rachel, should I go on? She paled. I darted to the door. Can we not do this here? You think I care who sees? I reached into my coat pocket, slid the manila folder across the table next to her latte. Inside, copies of the custody orders, photos of her and Mia, screenshots of her job histories, 2 driver's licenses with different names, court transcripts. You missed a few zip codes. She didn't even open the folder. She just stared at it like it might bite her. Then she tried again. You don't understand. I had to leave. There was danger. Witness protection? That's the story you fed Mark. She flinched like I'd hit her. Mark, she said. Yeah, the guy after me. Or was he during? That's not it. True. I leaned in. Neither is your name. She sat down slowly. Not like a woman surrendering. Like one realizing the lies finally ran out of oxygen. You think I did all this to hurt people? She said, almost whispering. No, I replied. You did it to survive. But in the process, you turned survival into a career and left more wreckage than you'll ever clean up. She looked away. For a second, I thought she might cry. But no tears came. Just silence. I left her there. No scene. No farewell. Just the folder, a coffee, and the truth staring back at her harder than I ever could. 2 days passed before I heard from her again. Blocked numbers. Burner account. She sent an email. Subject line blank. Just a single line in the body. If you want to know why, meet me Sunday. Last time. Your call. I didn't reply. But I showed up. Not for her. For me. We met in a small park off State Route 9. Quiet. No cameras. No witnesses. She was already there, sitting at a bench under the tree line. She looked tired. Older. Like a person who'd been running with a mask too long and finally lost the strength to hold it up. She didn't smile. Didn't hug me. Didn't lie. Not at first. I was 16 when I first changed my name, she said without prompting. It was stupid. I stole a credit card from a guy I dated. Got caught. My parents kicked me out. I didn't interrupt. I thought it would be one time. Get out of town. Start over. Then it became a pattern. A boyfriend in Tucson helped me fake papers. After him, it got easier. So the kid? I asked. Mia's real, she said quickly. She's not a prop. She's... I never should have left her. That's when her voice cracked. She looked down, then up at me like she was waiting for judgment. I panicked. Her father, Thomas, wasn't violent, but he wasn't weak either. When I felt like the lie was about to break, I left. Told myself she was better off without me than with a mother who didn't exist. And the next man? Same pattern. New name. Same fear. Then came the whopper. I told one of them I was in witness protection. I raised an eyebrow. Why? Because I needed a reason he couldn't verify. Something big enough that he'd stop asking questions. Something that explained everything without me having to. And the people you heard along the way? She swallowed hard. They were collateral. That's not an excuse. It's just what I told myself when I didn't want to feel like a monster. I waited, but there was no apology. Just a story she hoped would soften the impact, not erase it. You're not a monster, I said finally. But you're not a victim either. So what am I? I stood. You're a cautionary tale. And I meant it. Because what she did wasn't just betrayal. It was theft of trust, identity, love, time. She built a reality on my loyalty, then pulled the floorboards the second it suited her. Before I walked away, she said, "Are you going to tell anyone else?" "I already have." "You're not going to ruin me?" "No." I turned back. "You did that all by yourself." And I didn't stop her. Because I knew what was coming next. The first domino was her job. She was working at a digital branding firm out in Lakewood under the name Rachel Morris, running mid-tier accounts and pitching herself as some polished consultant with experience in crisis communication. Crisis communication. God, the irony. She had no idea that her own resume was a fire waiting to catch. I didn't tip them off with an anonymous message. I called, gave them my full name. Calm tone. I wasn't dramatic. I was surgical. "Hi, I'm calling regarding someone on your team. I think there's been a serious identity oversight you'll want to address before a client discovers it first." They asked for proof. I sent over a zip file with verified court docs, aliases, employment timelines, and one very polite cover letter. This is not a threat or an attack, but I believe transparency should matter in a company that claims to build public trust. I never heard back. But a week later, her name was scrubbed from the company page. Her LinkedIn suddenly seeking new opportunities. And not long after, she texted me from a number I didn't recognize. "Rachel, you couldn't just let it go, could you?" "Me. I did. I let you go." Truth caught up on its own. "Rachel, I lost everything." "Me. You never had it. You just borrowed it from people who trusted you." Then came the second hit. The lawyer. Custody case from years back. Mia's file. I emailed the court-appointed family attorney who was still listed on the public docket as the child's liaison. No lies. No emotion. Just, "You may want to revisit the custody file of Mia Hale." Attached is a verified summary of alias use, employment shifts, and abandonment indicators by her biological mother. 3 days later, I got a call back. He sounded stunned. "We were never able to locate her until now. She's been off the grid for years." "She's not off the grid," I said. "She's just always changing the map." "Mr. Parker, I can't discuss details, but you may have changed the trajectory of that child's future." I sat with that for a while, not with pride, but with a strange kind of peace. She called me again the next night. This time, I answered. "You win," she said quietly. "This wasn't a game. You cost me my job, my career." "No," I interrupted. "You did that when you built a life out of lies and forgot to update the script." She went quiet. Then, "You don't understand what I've been through. What it's like to keep running. Then stop. It's not that simple." "No," I said. "It never is. But it is that honest." Final blow came through someone else. Mark. He messaged me at midnight. She reached out again. Asked if we could talk. Said she wants to explain herself. And I replied. I sent her a photo of Mia's last birthday and told her not to respond. That was the last time either of us heard from her. She didn't get arrested. Didn't make the news. There was no Netflix special. No vindication speech. But her silence after that? That was the ending. People expect revenge to be loud, explosive, public, a mic drop. But the most powerful ending I've ever seen was just watching someone realize nobody believes them anymore. That their name no longer opens doors. That their face doesn't carry weight. That the story they told so well for years, finally stopped working. I didn't ruin her. I just stopped covering for her. I stopped believing the fairy tale she fed me. Stopped making excuses for behavior that would have landed anyone else in jail. All I did was hand the truth to the right people and walk away. You don't need to destroy a liar. You just have to stop letting them rebuild. I kept one photo. Not of her. Not of us. It was a grainy shot cell phone camera, taken from the corner of my old desk. A photo of the ring box. Closed. Still new. still full of promise. I keep it not to remember what I lost, but to remind myself how close I came to building my future on fiction. She didn't just lie to me. She lied as me, to employers, friends, to her own kid. She wore trust like a costume, something she could zip up when it suited her and throw in the closet when it didn't. But here's the truth she didn't expect me to find. Every person she ever lied to made her weaker. Because it's easy to pretend. It's hard to build. And when the pretending stops, you better hope you've got something real underneath. She didn't. I did. I used to wonder why I didn't see it sooner. Why I didn't catch the fake names, the timelines that didn't line up, the way her answers always wrapped around the truth but never touched it. But that's what trust does to a man. It softens your edges. It makes you generous with logic. It teaches you to interpret red flags as wounded hearts. And maybe, for a time, that's okay. But what I learned, trust is a gift, not a debt. You don't owe it to someone who hasn't earned it. And once it's broken, you don't owe them your silence either. I thought I'd walk away from this bitter, paranoid, guarded. But I'm not. I'm clear. Because now I know the signs. Now I know what questions to ask and what stories not to fall in love with. Now I know that someone lying to your face with a soft smile is still lying. Do I regret loving her? No. Because that love taught me what I will never allow again. And if you're listening to this, wondering if the pit in your stomach is real, if that gap between words is hiding something bigger, trust yourself. Dig. Ask. And if you find out you've been loving a lie, you don't need to burn it all down. Just stop holding it up. She lied to me, but I'm still here. And for the first time in a long time, so is the truth.